Hello, Bindu. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Deepak. How are you?
Thank you so much for coming, for your time, and giving me the opportunity to talk to you.
Oh, well, I appreciate you inviting me
Thank you.
to have this interview.
Right. I would like to ask you to tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from, where you grew up, and how long you've been living in Florida for.
Sure. So to start with, I was born in Shrewsbury, UK, and I immigrated to this country along with my mom and dad, of course. We moved to Westchester County in New York. So I grew up in New York.
So your parents are
Yes.
from
So my
Bangalore?
parents are from Bangalore, Bengaluru, and they were born and brought up in that area.
And so tell me, what kind of education do you have?
Sure. So I have an undergraduate degree,
Okay.
my bachelor's in science, as well as my MBA from the Stern School of Business in New York University.
Did you work in the corporate sector at all?
I did.
How long for?
So I actually have 25 plus years, we'll leave it at that, in the corporate sector as well as in healthcare. So for example, I started my work experience journey as an analyst at JP Morgan. Then I moved on to brand finance management position in Unilever. And in my most recent stint, I was at Montefiore Medical Center. I was the unified administrator for the Department of Neurosurgery, which just means that I directed the operational, financial, strategic planning, HR initiatives for the entire department. So it was challenging, super challenging, and fulfilling.
And seemed like you were in a very comfortable position in your career.
I was. I worked really hard though to climb that corporate ladder, as they say, and I achieved a lot of my goals and objectives, especially when I reached the position of unified administrator. It's almost like a senior director, in a company. But there was something always, there was a yearning that I had to do something of my own. You see, all my corporate career, I was materializing someone else's vision, someone else's plan. And I wanted to do something of my own, build a legacy of my own. And that's how my Spice Buds came about.
Yes, thank you. I was going to ask you about what you're doing now. So tell us a little bit about you spent 25 years in corporate world, right? And then the calling came to you that you want to do something of your own, create a legacy, start your own business. And how did you arrive at this idea of spice?
No, it's a great question. A couple of things were happening at that time when I was thinking about my Spice Buds. So I mentioned that calling. About, I would say, almost 5 to 10 years ago, we had a big dinner party at our house, and we served a lot of the sauces that we now offer today. And we got a great response from friends and family who enjoyed trying our sauces. We served it with grilled veggies, on sandwiches, with grilled chicken, and as I said, we got a great response. So the aha moment, I think, took place then, because a lot of people said, well, why aren't you bottling this?
Right.
And it made me go, I don't know. I have to take a look into this. But at that time, both my husband and I were so busy with our careers and raising our son that it was something that I just put in the file cabinet, my mental file cabinet, if you will, to take a look at when the time was right. And then during the pandemic, which was if you may remember, New York was an epicenter of
Absolutely,
the pandemic.
yeah.
And during my work, it was a very challenging time, not just for our healthcare workers, but for our patients and for our staff, just keeping everyone safe amidst this new novel virus that came into everyone's lives. So it was during that time I started to think about, gosh, life is short. Anything can happen anytime. I mean, we lost a physician, we almost lost 2 nurse practitioners during the pandemic. And it just made you take a step back and think about, well, what do I want out of life? And while I had a very fulfilling career, something in me said it's time to do something new. And at that same time, my parents were looking to retire. My husband landed this really great role at Lakeland Health. here in the Tampa Bay region. So it seemed like the universe was sending us a signal that it was time to start a new chapter, to see where this adventure would take us. And our son was off to college, so everything just seemed to line up quite well. And that's the reason why we transitioned down here. I took some time off and did a lot of research about the hot sauce business. What would I need to do to get a leg into that world?
Beautiful. Great way to say that everything fell in place. Everything was aligned, right? It just happened on its own.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Organically.
Yeah.
As they
Talking
say.
about your spices, it might be a time for you to please show the audience
Sure,
one of your bottles.
absolutely.
One of your
Okay, so we
brands.
started our company in June of 2022. And within the span of 1 year, we introduced 3 signature sauces. Super Mirchi is actually our flagship sauce. This is the creation of my dad, Dr. Prasad, and he actually came up with this recipe in his early teens. So that gives you a sense of my dad just being this innovator and creator quite naturally. Then my mother's sauce, Tangy Mirchi, was actually the third one we introduced. And this is a family concoction that we put together, Fiery Mirchi, which is the spiciest of our 3. What we love about our sauces is that we follow nature's rules. So meaning we use plant-based ingredients. They are balanced in terms of health, flavor, and the right amount of kick. So there's no overbearing heat that is often associated with a lot of hot sauces out there. And the best part, we have no artificial preservatives, and it's very low in sodium. So our sauces are good, for our customers.
So it won't raise my blood pressure, right?
Nope.
'Cause that tells me
Exactly.
that
I
on
mean, that's
sodium.
the point. And see, we managed to accomplish 2 objectives when we put these out.
Right.
One was that we wanted to create something that is appealing to the palate and that also nurtures the body, that it's healthy for your mind and body. Because if you make something healthy and it doesn't taste good, no one's going to eat it.
Right.
Let's be honest.
So, did any of your corporate training come in handy while starting this business, and how did you? Because just making a product is one thing, but also marketing it, selling it, and distributing it.
Absolutely.
Talk a little bit about that, please.
Sure. So I will tell you, there's really 3 key things when you are an entrepreneur, when you're starting a new business. You want to know how to make your product, you need to know how to sell it, and you need to tell people about it.
Right.
Those are the 3 basic fundamentals. How you go about each one, of course, there's loads of paths to that. My corporate training, I will tell you, gave me the toolbox, that skill set, budget and planning, working with my marketing team at Unilever, learning how to cater to the retail venue as well as to your customers, strategic planning, financial analysis. So all of the experiences that I had, I really feel brought me to this point. Even interacting with management, senior management, the board of directors, just knowing how to negotiate, how to convince, how to persevere and keep at it. All those soft skills and hardcore skills absolutely came in handy for me to launch the business.
Very nice. So it looks like you're thriving right now. I mean, you are trying to showcase your products in multiple locations in Tampa, right? And you are quite professional in your attitude, and
Well,
I mean, it seems so. How do you feel? Do you feel like your business is heading in the right direction?
I believe 2 things. One, you have to have purpose, and you have to be able to enjoy the journey,
Right.
and of course have clear goals as you're going through the process. I would say we're very pleased with the progress we've made thus far, but Deepak, we have a long way to go. Right now, we're developing a local following in the Tampa Bay community, but we are also very keen on growing our online presence so we can go beyond the Floridian borders, if you will. as well as landing on the retail shelves. I would love to get into a Sprouts or a Fresh Market, Whole Foods. You know, those are venues that I think share our brand values and our brand messaging about eating clean and feeding your body right, and stay true to that messaging.
Very nice. Also, you mentioned earlier that you worked in the healthcare sector
Yes,
for a while.
that
Does
is
that
right.
experience and expertise helps you convey the message to American audience, American customers that I know how to make this product healthy?
Correct.
Would that
I do think it had, I think it was a factor, because the one exposure, or the exposure of working in healthcare is watching your patients, you know, come in with a whole host of issues, which I felt for the most part were self-inflicted, you know, not proper dieting, not proper exercising, physical activity. Of course, there are some things that genuinely happen to you because of genetic makeup or factors out of your control. But those, in fact, I think I read a statistic that nearly 75% of the healthcare expenses could be avoided if people were more cognizant of how they ate and their physical activities. So I do think I learned a lot about people struggling to find the right balance and not having the time, because a lot of people are also working, you know, such long hours that they're not able to take the time to eat healthy.
Thank you. What kind of feedback do you get from folks who have tried your spice? I mean, do they tell you it's just they want more of it, or they had like an upset tummy? What kind of you have a mix, or do you? Yeah.
Yeah, so I will tell you, it is exciting to see folks who are willing to try the sauces. I think we're humble enough to admit that most people like our flavors. Not everybody, but most people. And I think the key of what we found with our products is the balance. People are often surprised at how flavorful it is without the heat overpowering the flavor, so that it is truly enjoyable to the palate. We're not in it for the heat-packed heat enthusiast. I mean, there are a lot of sauces out there that do that, and that's okay for those folks who want that experience. But that was not our goal. Our goal was to give you the flavor, to enjoy a little bit of heat without taking away from the flavor. But more than anything, our sauces enliven a meal without taking away from it. And that's an important thing to achieve.
Right. It's interesting you say you didn't want to play with the heat factor, right? But at the same time, you have all of these three are called mirchi, which is all about heat.
That's right. Mirchi is chili.
You're right, chili,
as you
right,
know.
right.
And I mean, they are hot sauces after all. And
We'll let it pass. So yeah, I mean, all of them have mirchi, tangy mirchi, super mirchi, and fury mirchi.
you're right. That's right. Mirchi, as you know, is chili.
Right.
And they are hot sauces after
Right.
all. But it doesn't mean that the heat has to be in charge. You know, again, it's a balance of all of them.
Good. So it's not just that. It's more.
It's not just that, right? It's about a medley of flavor, health, and heat, balanced just like in nature.
I can't wait to try myself.
Yes, I can't wait for you to try them also.
Right.
Oh, can I just mention one thing?
Please, yes.
So when we talked about the flavors, I mean, these are our family heritage recipes. My mom and dad are the chief co-innovators of our sauces. Of course, my husband and I play a role, but they're definitely the ones driving the products that we're introducing.
Tell us a little bit more about what do you mean by the chief owners? I mean, did they come up with the concoction?
Correct.
Okay.
So these are their recipes.
Okay,
As I mentioned, my dad created the recipe for Super Mirchi. We made some modifications for the wider audience when he was in his teens. My mother introduced or had made tangy mirchi in our household. I grew up with all of these sauces, so these are their original recipes, and there's an authenticity. So it's not as though you can go to an Indian grocery store or even go to India and find a tangy mirchi or a super mirchi. These are our original heritage recipes.
That's very interesting. It's not just any spice, any chutney, right?
Correct.
And it's actually comes from straight from your parents' kitchen. Right?
Exactly, right from the kitchen to our consumers' palates.
And do you want to tell us about does the whole production take place in your parents' kitchen, or is there other?
So no, hot sauce has to be manufactured at a FDA approved facility.
Right.
So either a commercial kitchen or you work with a co-packer. So the best decision we made was partnering with IPAC, which is a co-packer located right here in Florida in Winter Springs. They procure the ingredients, they manufacture, bottle it, and of course we have a label company we work with, but everything gets sent to our co-packer. The beauty of doing that is I have peace of mind that our products are well made, that they are safe, they meet all quality standards, and I can scale easily, so that if hopefully we're able to grow in the next 3 to 5 years, my partner IPAC can easily meet the demand.
And you, but the recipe is yours.
Correct. So we have an NDA with them, so it is protected. I also have worked with a intellectual property trademark lawyer to trademark our brand and what have you. It's work in progress, of course.
Okay. Wow, beautiful. So, yeah, I think you've talked about all the ins and outs of your business, right?
Exactly.
And of course, I mean, you're doing this well, so I'm assuming your husband is very supportive of this, right?
I have to say, family is the most important thing to me.
Right.
I always say I won the parent lottery with my mom and dad, who are very, very smart, very courageous, humble and passionate, and incredibly supportive, even to this day. My husband is a wonderful guy. He is my partner in every way. We support each other in our endeavors. Besides being a physician, he has a passion for music and photography. And so he publishes his own EDM albums, and he too has written a book called A Circle of Souls. It's what they call fictional realism. It's about a child psychiatrist who
I know who to interview next.
I know, exactly. Oh, he's phenomenal. You'll have fun interviewing him.
Okay.
And his book is about a child psychiatrist who works with the FBI to solve a child's murder. So it just gives you some insight into our family, where we had these very strong professional paths, but we also had these passions that we love to explore and pursue.
Thank you. It's a beautiful conversation, and what a great family you have. A great husband, such a talented husband, and your mother has authored a cookbook, and you have authored. You want to show it?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Okay, so let me first show you my mom's cookbook first. So this is my mother's cookbook, Indian Vegetarian Cooking from an American Kitchen. She published her book with Random House back in 1995, I believe. And what I love about her book is that she focused on, so in my dad's private practice, which my mom is basically the COO of, she interacted with the patients, and what she often heard was patients struggled to cook vegetarian meals and use herbs and spices to make it flavorful. So that is what incented her to write this book, and as I mentioned, she published with Random House, which was really exciting.
Wow.
The key about her book is that all of the ingredients you can get at your local grocery store. You don't have to make a special trip to an Asian grocery store. If you want to, you certainly can. But I think I like the fact that she made it available and accessible for folks to be able to make these recipes, and to do so very easily. My cookbook, which of course my mother also inspired me to put out, is called Spice Up Your Life.
Was this book done before the business, or?
This was done before the business, and that's a great question, because I often get asked, are the sauces incorporated into our recipes in the book. Unfortunately, they are not. But my cookbook took a flexitarian approach, which means that it's mostly plant-based recipes using herbs and spices, but we also incorporated a little chicken and fish because for the American public, they do incorporate, some animal protein into their diet. So we wanted to have a focus on that, but encourage folks to pursue more of a plant-based diet.
Well, thank you. I think I really enjoyed it, and I got a good idea of what you're doing, and I'm very inspired actually. And I'm gonna try the spices as soon as I get home. And thank you for your time. And is there anything else you want to tell?
I was wondering if you wanted to touch base a little bit about how my experience was growing up in this country.
Yes, please.
Do you
Yes.
want to do that?
Yeah.
So.
But you said you were born in UK, but you moved here at what age?
Correct. So I was 4 years old when my parents immigrated to New York, to the Westchester area, and I actually had a wonderful childhood in the U.S. I loved school. I was a bit of a geek, if you will. My favorite subjects were, of course, math and science, which I think is atypical to Asians.
Right.
I also pursued a lot of extracurricular activities like dance school, jazz and tap, ice skating, softball, tennis, forensics in high school, and the one thing I will say that my parents did for me, which I think was the best thing ever, during my summers off between the ages of 7 and my early teens, I would go to India and spend my summers there.
Where in India?
Where in India? Bangalore, India, Bengaluru. And my experience there was really magical in a way. There were, I would say, 4 things that came out of my time being there. One, I grew very close to my grandparents and to my extended family out there, my aunts, uncles, cousins. I learned about Hinduism, I learned about traditions. My grandmother was an amazing, and she would take me to the markets, like the farmers markets in Jayanagar.
Oh, wow.
And she would tell me about, how do you pick fresh vegetables? What do you look for? So, for example, with a lime, she would say, look at the skin. It's firm, but there's some give. She would say, see the mango, smell the mango, touch the ends and see if there's a little give. Are the green beans very vibrant in color? So she would give me all these tips about how to select fresh vegetables, herbs, and spices. And she was so smart. She would haggle with the vendors and always get the best price. And it was really amazing to watch her in action. And then back in her kitchen, I would be right beside her as a helper. She would give me a mortar and pestle. I would sit there crushing the herbs and spices. She would then show me all the steps as she was making, say, upma or bisabelabat, and she would show me, see how it smells, see how it looks, and she never used measuring spoons or measuring cups. Everything was, this much or that much, and it was really interesting to me that she had all this knowledge. She would talk about what's good for you, like with turmeric, she would say, see, it's an anti-inflammatory, it's very healthy, and nobody taught her this, or I shouldn't say that, she didn't learn it from a book. This was years of knowledge passed down from my grandmother's mother and her mother before her, and I love that knowledge, how it just passed through the generations and how she would share that with me.
This is beautiful.
She also taught me about portion control. So for instance, when we would be eating lunch together, she would just serve a small portion. She would put it on my plate and I would eat that. And during that time, she would tell me about stories, about how she grew up, where she grew up, the games they would play, the things they would do. And once I finished that small portion, she would give me another. And the reason she did that was to help me figure out, when am I full? Versus giving somebody a full plate. she never liked that approach. She always thought you serve yourself, you keep serving small portions.
So
until you feel
it takes
full.
your stomach a while to register that it's full, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So those lessons, those insights stuck with me as I put my book together, as we come up with the sauces, as we share that knowledge with our customers and our tips and recipes.
So this business was bound to happen.
You
You
know
had all the
what?
ingredients, right?
I agree. I mean, no pun intended,
Right,
right?
right.
There
Yeah,
were
yeah.
so many ingredients that went into the fruition and
Right.
materializing this venture. Looking back, yes,
Yeah.
but I don't know that I would have seen that at the time. But I do think the universe has a way of bringing you to where you need to be.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I thank you for your time.
Of course.
Yes.
Thanks again, and
And-
check out my sauces on myspicebuds.com.
There you go. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.